Hello, hello. I'll give people a minute or two to hop on. It's already saying 16 seconds in, but maybe it was going before I even knew. Hi, Carol. Happy Tuesday, if it's Tuesday where you are. I know, like I said the other day, there's some people from across the world in this group. Oh, awesome. Yeah, so today it's like 6 a.m. in Brisbane right now. Hi, Anna. Hi, Sherry. Yay. So as I was getting ready to hop on this live, I walked into my room, into my closet, and I very clearly heard to put on my crown. So, from New York, from North Carolina. Okay, so you're the same coast as me. I'm on the East Coast in Massachusetts. Don't know what it's doing down your way, but it is raining and pouring here right now, and stormy, and it's supposed to, I think, have 60-mile-an-hour winds. So, thanks, Sherry. Yeah, I got this several months ago. I was going to have some pictures taken with it. It never happened, and then I just had a photo shoot this Saturday, and I wore the crown. So, of course, we're going to be talking more about the archetypes today. So, if you have the Queen archetype, a crown will be very fitting on your head. If you don't have it, it might look kind of funny. It's like blue nail polish looks really weird on me, and it's not per se specific archetype. Or it rained yesterday. Okay, yeah. So, but I also have the athlete. I was thinking as I put it on, I'm like, oh yeah, and I have this yellow tank top on, which is just like my very athletic wear that I wear all the time. Hi Dawn. I have the, hi Dawn. Yes, hurricane, stay safe, yes. So, I think when I met one of my coaches last year, I went and saw her in person a couple of years ago, and she's like, your style is sporty, classy. So it's like the queen and the athlete is like my combo of dressing. And so anyway, yeah, I can wear my sporty, and I'm like, well, let me just throw my crown on with that today because it's fun. One of my daughters last year, she is not the queen at all. She's got the warrior and a bunch of other cool archetypes, but her then fiance, now husband, wanted to make her birthday really special. And he got her, had a great birthday party at our house, and he bought her a crown. And it didn't look right on her. Like, she had fun wearing it, and then she gave it to my granddaughter, her niece, who it looked perfect on because she has the queen archetype. So just saying that there's a reason we can wear certain things and not, and people can sometimes look really great in something that you might think, wow, I could never wear that, and that's really very connected to the archetypes. And actually just a couple of weeks ago, one of the women that was in my archetypes course, Galen, the style Sherpa, she came to my house and helped me pick out some clothes for the photo shoot I just had recently, which really very much reflected and expressed my archetypes even more so. So that was really fun and cool. So thanks for hopping on today. I appreciate it. And I was actually feeling to take a minute. I was feeling this earlier. Maybe part of it's the blowing winds outside, just to take a minute and get grounded and settled before we get started. So just close your eyes for a minute, take a nice breath in through the nose, and then exhale. If you want, you can just sigh out through the mouth or the nose, and just let yourself settle. Feel how you kind of let some of the weight settle down into your chair if you're seated. Just let your body settle down. We don't realize, but we're often walking around kind of many times unplugged. So when we just consciously decide, I'm just going to let myself settle down into the moment. Another breath in. And just let your awareness energy drop down into your heart at first. Feel into your heart. And then another breath in, and then this time as you exhale, imagine dropping a cord from just in front of the heart all the way down, just in front of your spine. There's an energy column, the Sushumna Nadi. Imagine it traveling down in front of your spine, out the base of your pelvis, and down into the earth, down, down, down into the earth, maybe as far as the core of the earth, Lady Gaia's heart chakra. Feel it just kind of yourself, some part of you root down in there and feel it plug down. Maybe even you feel some energy releasing down into the earth. And then as you inhale, imagine drawing up from the earth, all the way up from the core of the earth, up the legs, the feet, the legs, the thighs, up into the pelvis, up into the first chakra. Feel it rise up, and then as you exhale, release, and imagine just anything you're ready to release, just relaxing, releasing down through the legs, the feet, down into the earth. Again, breathing in, drawing that energy up through the cord, imagining this time coming all the way up into a little bit higher into the sacral area, into your second chakra, just below the navel, into your low back, your hips, and then exhale, send it back down. Again, inhaling this time comes all the way up from the earth, all the way up to the solar plexus, the third chakra, just below the rib cage in the front and the back, next to the kidney area and your power center. And as you exhale, send that energy back down. Again, next breath in, and just follow your own pace. Come all the way up. This time the breath comes all the way up into your heart center. Feel the heart expand 360 degrees, and then exhale, send that breath back down into the earth. Feel yourself soften a little more each time you exhale. Inhale this time, it comes all the way up through the legs, the lower body, through the mid-torso, all the way up this time, up into the throat chakra, the back of the neck even, and as you exhale, release even this time down through the arms, the hands, through the spine, all the way down into the earth. Again, breathing back up. This time comes all the way up to between the brows, the sixth chakra. Opening and clearing space as we go, and then exhaling back down. And then the next time as you breathe in, it comes all the way up from the earth, up through the entire body, up just in front of the spinal column, all the way up through the crown of the head. And just notice if the crown of your head, if you can feel how, does it feel very open or closed or somewhere in the middle? Just imagining your crown chakra just being open the perfect amount and extending your energy up into the heart of creation, reaching up. And then as you exhale, the energy moves back down into the earth. So just take a few breaths like that. Again, imagining the breath is just in front of the spine, traveling up and down on this energetic column, connecting you between earth, heaven and earth. And clearing the chakras, clearing your energy system. And then the next time you exhale, just bring your awareness, your energy, your attention down into your heart space. And if it feels good, if you want, you can keep your eyes closed for a bit, or you can open them as you're ready. If you have water or something to drink, you might want to take a sip. All right, so welcome to day two. Sorry, almost got ahead of myself. So today we're going to be talking more about how to uncover your unique blend of 12 archetypes, which, as I said, they inform, inspire, and influence every single choice that you make, and they have a very powerful ripple effect. So I don't know if anyone's new on the call today or if anyone's watching it later, but my name is Nancy Anter, and I'm the founder of Embrace Your Archetypes, the Sacred Keys to Awaken Your Higher Purpose and Potential in Your Life and Business. And since as early as my teen years, I always loved meditation and exploring the connections between the physical and the non-physical world. And I touched base yesterday as well. I discovered the archetypes in 2010, and it really changed my world in a whole new way. I had been helping clients and staff. At the time, I owned a yoga and wellness center. And I've been helping them uncover their gifts and watching their lives change for the better as they began to express and share them in new ways. So the archetypes really gave me a new language for understanding what was going on, and it was really like a missing piece to the puzzle that I had been looking for. So I could see everything we need to help us understand and fulfill our purpose is already inside of us, and perfectly designed from the day you're born to help you guide and fulfill your mission and your purpose. And that was pretty amazing to realize that, because I know for myself, and I see that question come up a lot for others, is like, why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I meant to be doing? And I always felt that there was something more, that there was something calling and pulling me, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. So the veil right now is thinning more and more, which means our ability to access and understand spiritual information and consciousness is becoming more available to everyone as a collective and as a whole. So more and more people are being drawn to the archetypes, and the reason is that we're being invited more and more to work and live our lives with more consciousness and more purpose. And people are feeling like they want more meaning in their lives. So many are feeling called to, especially if you relate as like an entrepreneur or a change maker or a creative, or you just know on some level that there's something inside you that you were meant for more. And that's something that I've always felt for probably since I was young. And you want, to live a life that makes a difference. So this is where uncovering and working with your personal archetypes can really start to come into play and really help you uncover that. So yesterday I know I shared a list or a link to a list of some possible archetypes. There's many of them, but to at least get started with, and really just knowing even one single one of your archetypes is so powerful. It's like it's like a relationship. They're like relationships of these 12 like guides, or your own personal staff, or your council of 12, maybe you want to call it. And every one of them brings a gift to you. Gifts and lessons, we'll say, right? Gifts and lessons. And so just developing or understanding, and even consciously understanding even one of them is so powerful. Like really, like it's like owning or calling back a piece of yourself. And of course, the more we see them, we witness them, you evolve them, and you add a conscious intention, the more you grow into more of you. It's not about becoming someone else. It's really just kind of exploring and understanding you. It's learning to be who you are. Learning things that really light you up. I mean, really consciously understanding it at a new level. And they're the things that you love and that come naturally to you. So imagine giving yourself full permission to do and be who you were born to be all day, every day, knowing that it's the highest thing that you can do for yourself and for the rest of the planet. And it's the role you came here for, and it's what you really came here to model for others. And so although archetypes are impersonal patterns of influence that are both ancient and universal, they become personalized when they're part of your individual psyche. So as you looked at the list of archetypes that I posted yesterday, and I did post it again, thank you, hi Mary. So I did post in the link above for this, again, I posted the link for the archetypes. If anybody missed it, you can always go back and watch day one if you missed day one as well. But so if you started to look at the list, you might notice some that pop out right away as a yes, or maybe some as a maybe. The other thing is some may trigger you, which those are something to really take notice of as well. Sometimes we might want to reject an archetype because we don't like it or we judge it in some way, but honestly, there are no bad archetypes. And as I said yesterday a little bit too, other times people might reject or push away an aspect of themselves because it's not considered acceptable for some reason. I mentioned the cosmetic surgeon who had the artist archetype, and he used that through his cosmetic surgery, but it really was not fulfilling to him because he was following a little bit on a pathway that was laid out and expected of him, as opposed to really feeling what resonated with him. And when you do that, it's not really based in your truth. It takes a lot of extra effort and energy to be something, or to pretend that you're, something that's really not you. And at a deeper level, it ends up it's not sustainable. It never quite feels right, and it can be exhausting. So some of the, are they different than our spirit guides? Yes, good question. They're different than our spirit guides. But I call them guides because that's what they kind of feel like to me, but they're different than that. We have an interactive relationship with them in a way, but they're like if you have the archetype of, say, a teacher, where you're plugged into like this whole archetypal energy field of all the other teachers in the world that have that archetype or that archetypal field, and you can evolve it. You can you can evolve it. You can tap into it. You can potentially tap into like other teachers in that field and energy of that. So it's a little different than your, I guess, what you might call your spirit guides, or which spirit guides might be like, could be ascended masters. They could be animal spirit guides. There's a lot of different ones. So the archetypes are kind of in their own energy in a way. So that's a good question. So as you start to kind of understand them and other archetypes a little bit, some things become pretty obvious. One that I end up talking about a lot, which is kind of funny, is like Donald Trump, because he's such a character, right? And he's got the provocateur and the king archetype. So, I mean, there's a politician archetype, and Donald Trump does not really have the politician, right? That's what's kind of like, wow, he's kind of a wild card. He's different than the people that are usually go into office. He has got the king archetype, and the provocateur, which the provocateur, the light side of them, I know provocateurs can seem kind of annoying sometimes, right? My husband has that. I call it the kick the sleeping dog archetype. I'm like, the dog is sleeping over there. You got to go over and kick it. But provocateurs are here to kind of wake people up out of their complacency. And in the light with my husband, we could be walking through the grocery store, and he might see somebody and they're kind of spacing off, or they're in their own world or whatever, and my husband will say something, and it's usually kind of witty and funny, and it just kind of wakes them up. And it really is like, it's powerful, because they're kind of off in some land, and my husband just really calls them back into the moment, and it's really lovely. But if you don't have that archetype, it's not going to work the same way. Like, I would not go into the store and necessarily think to do something like that. So yeah, so Donald Trump, king and provocateur, among others. Tom Brady, the famous, I'm not a football player, but hey, I live in Massachusetts, so the Patriots, and Tom Brady, like big time, the master and the athlete. Like, he has really mastered his athleticism, right? It's those two playing together. And I have the master and the athlete, but I also have the adventurer. So my master might really get into mastering something and something athletic, and then I'll go, that was fun. Let me go do something else. I want to go play somewhere else. So that's where these can, so that, you can have the same archetypes, a couple of them as someone else, but you throw in another archetype and it can look really different. So again, even if you had the same exact archetypes as another person, it would show up differently for you. So, and again, some we might begin to notice within ourselves easily, and others will be harder to unearth. So when I work and help people uncovering their archetypes, sometimes the archetypes, as I said a little yesterday, they'll just start to show themselves to me. Like I noticed with my husband several years ago, I'm like, oh, I think he has the knight archetype. And he used to talk about he wanted to be a fireman, but he's always like kind of the save the day kind of a guy, very chivalrous. And I remember it dawned on me, I'm like, I think he has the knight archetype. And that very night, he'd been driving in his truck all day, and he came home, and I was talking to him, and he started playing me this song, and it was Kenny Rogers' Knight in Shining Armor. I'm like, there you go, right there. So there is this language of the archetypes that I find that happens to me a lot is like the archetypes will really speak to me very clearly when I start to uncover a clue about something. And I was just noticing or thinking about this recently. I have the adventure archetype, And I noticed I have these things around my house. I have a sign downstairs that says, your adventure begins here. I have a pillow that says, every day is an adventure. And I have something that I clipped out of somewhere. It says, Nancy, your adventure of a lifetime begins here. So when you start to uncover your archetypes, you'll start to notice the little clues that have actually been there the whole time. So, we're gonna go through kind of some steps to kind of look for when you're looking for trying to figure out your archetypes. So it can be, there's a lot of archetypes. It can be overwhelming. Just try not to get overwhelmed about it. Just kind of look and let it be fun. I gave you the link. I have this deck, Carolyn Mace Archetype decks, and again, it contains a lot of archetypes. I don't think all of mine are in here, but there's quite a few. Let's see how many cards. I don't know how many cards are in here, but and it has, these cards have a little book that comes with them, and it has, oh, there I am right on the front, the Queen. It has the light and the shadow. Sometimes I post these in the group with my own little translation of what comes through in the moment. So you want to start looking at the list and just see what ones are jumping out at you. Just kind of, go through the first time and take note and write down some that jump out at you. And then some might seem weird, or there might be some that pop out that you're very resistant to, and I invite you to just kind of notice those as well. There are 4 archetypes we'll be talking about in tomorrow's class that everyone has. And then there's 8 other primary ones. So basically you're kind of looking to find 8 in general. I'm never quite at 12, sometimes I'm at 13, so there's a little bit of fluctuation I find with myself. And then there's other archetypes that are kind of always influencing on the outside. So it's a work in progress. So again, people, if you're born, I mentioned a little yesterday, but if you're born female, or you relate more as female, you might be drawn more towards, say, like the feminine, some of the feminine archetypes. Some are feminine, some are, neutral, but some, like the Queen or the Goddess or whatever, that might be considered more feminine, you might be drawn more towards some of those. But you could be drawn towards masculine ones as well, and if you're gender neutral, whatever. So it's just, there is not a right or wrong. So just really see what really starts to resonate with you. And now step 2, again, I just mentioned, but be sure to include any that stand out that you might feel a resistance to. So this is not about picking what the archetypes you would like to have. It's uncovering the ones that you have or really think you might have. And some of them might look or sound undesirable. Like there's the vampire and there's some other ones, but they're all super powerful. And if you have it, it's there for a reason. And it is one of your superpowers, or it can be. So yesterday I mentioned Gandhi. He has the martyr archetype, right? Which some people might say, oh, I wouldn't want to have the martyr archetype. And they all have a shadow and a light, but his work, it was so powerful and sent such a powerful message. So let's see what the Cal say. Yesterday I picked teacher, mom, rebel, warrior, knight, caregiver, healer, goddess, shaman. Very cool. Yeah. So again, it's and then there's Jesus, right? He had the martyr and he had the servant archetype, and very powerful as well. A woman, a friend of mine I talked to, I think it was earlier this year, and we talked about her archetypes. She had studied a lot of them, and she has the servant archetype, and it was just so powerful when she really could feel like how she is here to serve. And she also had the judge archetype, and it's interesting because my own mind had been thinking of the judge archetype as judgmental, so I was thinking of it very much in the shadow. But she is so non-judgmental. She has the ability to be like what a true, a judge should be, that you would hope if you were going to be in front of a judge in a court of law or whatever it is, that this person was very impartial, and I see that so much in her. So it's such a powerful way for your gifts, your work, and your messages to come through. And again, it's not about trying to be something else or something different. It's really a powerful pathway to uncover more of yourself and about yourself. And that being said, you are not your archetypes and your archetypes are not you. So one of them we're going to talk about tomorrow a little bit is the saboteur, which we all have. And so if you notice, oh, I'm sabotaging myself, it's not really you. Like, you have your soul, which is infinite, right? But it's a tool and an aspect of you and your human self that you brought through in this lifetime to work with. And so you can say, oh, that's my saboteur archetype. This is not me. That's my saboteur archetype over there. And then from there, of course, it's affecting you, and then you can make a decision. So I believe that archetypes, when we're born, that we chose them, just like I believe we chose our parents, the family we were born into, where we were born, and all of those things. I believe they all play into our soul's decisions before we're born to help us with the lessons we're going to learn, the work we're going to do, and your purpose here on Earth. And as you uncover them, again, they become such a powerful pathway for change, for evolution. And honestly, like I said, just by noticing one of your archetypes, it's like you witness yourself in this, it starts to transform. Like, if you were to sit and just watch your breath come in and out for a few minutes, it would start to change just because you are noticing it. And it's the same with anything else. Anything else you witness or put your attention on, it changes just by paying attention. So when talking about like the archetypes we might feel are undesirable, one of the women in my last archetypes course earlier this year, I noticed it popped out that she had the Beggar Archetype. And she had a lot of resistance when I told her that. She was kind of like, yeah, she didn't really want to own that Beggar Archetype. So what if you can relate to one as a teenager, but not now? Do they change? So they usually don't change. So I would be curious and wonder what that is. So I'll be talking about that in a minute, but that's a good question if they change. So as I said, she had the Beggar Archetype, and at first, when she first heard it, she was very resistant. And then she started to realize, as I explained it a little bit more, and the power in that archetype, and she kind of let it land. One of the things she does is she heads up fundraisers, like for collecting bras for breast cancer, and different things like that. And her Beggar Archetype is so wonderful at asking for what she needs. It's asking for others for resources. And then another woman in the class towards the end, she uncovered her Queen Archetype, and it's actually the second person, another person I helped uncover her Queen last year that I've known for a long time. And this woman, so she was resistance as well, because she felt like this was a part of her people didn't like. But I'll tell you in a minute of how that kind of shifted after. So step 3 is, so step 1 is trying to look through the list, see what kind of jumps out at you, what kind of pops out. Step 2 is even look at any that you might feel resistant to, especially resistant to, and jot them down. You may or may not have them, but at least you're taking a look at them. The other part is that they all have a light and a shadow, right? So the light, I think of kind of like the gifts, or maybe the positive attributes, which empowers you, but the shadow is also empowering as well. So it has power because it remains in the dark. So we tend to deny its presence in it because oftentimes we consider it unacceptable. And that's partly why it stays in the dark, right? We don't want to look at it, or like, la 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 la, you know. I think more and more of us are really diving into that. I'm seeing more and more people, at least in my life, that are diving into that, including myself. But when we really acknowledge it and face it, we actually neutralize its potential negative impact. It's like I've been seeing this from an energetic perspective a lot with working with clients, is like something will come up and we'll see it, and they, just by making a decision, it's almost like this thing that was afraid that they were keeping away, it's like you walk through it, it's almost like a bubble that just pops. So let me see. and possibility of magician, anarchist, pilgrim, hermit, martyr, addict, student, most resistant to martyr. Awesome. Yeah, so I love those. The hermit, that's an interesting one. The anarchist, yeah. So the hermit is an interesting one. I thought I had that one at first too, and I realized I don't, but another client of mine has that, but she had to really prove it to me. So hermits really, it's really tough for them to go out of the house oftentimes. They really are way more comfortable being at home, very isolated, and I am an introvert, and so it's more my divine child that likes to spend a lot of time at home, but it's a little different than the hermit. You're embracing our shadow self to heal. Exactly, because it's embracing and owning all of ourselves. So with what you just said, how can you still talk to people that passed when they're able to move on and reincarnate to someone else? I think we're connected to really that energy, that energetic impression of them, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but so again, while the lights, so when you might say, when you're looking at archetype, oh, the light sounds like me, but then if you look at the shadow and it doesn't resonate, it might be maybe the shadow isn't really you, or maybe that you're not quite clear on it. And sometimes that's where a second opinion can help. Sometimes, as I mentioned, the woman in the class who was in my class earlier this year, it was actually someone else in her family, her husband and her brother, who both really helped her tune into that she had the shapeshifter. And also the queen archetype I did not see for myself at first as well, so I guess I denied my queen, and it took a little bit longer, but then so sometimes you do have to let them land a little bit, and then look, but you have to really make sure that shadow resonates. And as I said yesterday, the woman that was earlier this year, that she uncovered her queen, but she was kind of resistant to it. As we did a one-on-one session, part of it, her queen was kind of showing up a little bit more in its shadow because she wasn't really acknowledging it. Her queen had actually been trying to help her for many years, but she wasn't feeling acknowledged. And so think about that. If your queen is not feeling acknowledged, she's not going to probably feel too happy about things. So once we kind of paid attention to her queen, she and the queen felt a lot better in that. So again, check the light and the shadow side of things, and check the light and the shadow and see if they both resonate. So number 4 is this is kind of the question that Sherry asked, you want to see a pattern of an archetype or a thread running throughout your lifetime all the way back into your childhood. So there should be a thread there. So even, I posted, I think earlier this week or last week, a picture of my, when I was like probably 3 or 4 years old on my bicycle, my athlete archetype, and I had a hula hoop on it, which is part of my like adventure too, and I've always been athletic, but I honestly never put the athlete on my chart until a couple of years ago, and part of it was I rejected it because to me, in my brain, the word athlete meant jock, and I am not a jock. So even though like I was the kid that loved gym class, I didn't like the jockey, what I would consider jockey, and it's not judgment, it just didn't resonate for me. And I was thinking like the hedonist archetype, right? I have the hedonist, and I love like really delicious food and drink and massage and all those things, and I never got my first like official massage until I was probably in my early 30s, when I had a lot of back and neck problems. But when I looked back, when I was a teenager, actually my younger sister and her friend, I used to have them rub lotion and powder on my back, and I loved it, and I was like a teenager then. And actually that sister later also went to school for massage therapy, so she had really like a healer archetype. In some part it's like we connected in that way, and my hedonist was like, oh yes. So there should be a thread all the way back. And I mentioned the other day about the the entrepreneur, right? If you have an entrepreneur, my daughter, I have 3 daughters, and the one that is the entrepreneur, has more of that entrepreneur archetype, she was the kid that was like 3 or 4, she was really young, and it was October in Massachusetts, and she wanted a lemonade stand. So she was already trying to create her businesses when she was young, and she did things like throughout her teen years and later. Like she still has her own business now, but she was always finding business opportunities. So, you know, if you have the entrepreneur and you look back, there's going to be some threads even back into your childhood. So, all right, so let's see. So I mentioned the mother archetype the other day, also the same when you have that, if you have that mother archetype, and that's what I mentioned yesterday too, because you could be a guy and relate as like the Mr. Mom as the mother archetype, or if you were when you were a child, you really had your beloved dolls, or my youngest daughter had her dopey of the 7 dwarfs, and she she's 25 and she's still, that thing travels around with her. She has a tattoo of it on the back of her calf, like people get their children's names tattooed. So this is a very strong mother archetype. Real good information. Yes, yep, yes, definitely a thread. So things will kind of, you know, sometimes we want to know right away, but sometimes things take a little while to reveal themselves. So you know, you can do the hunting and the research and then kind of draw back a little bit and allow the information to come. If you have the intention, it will show up. So step 5. So you want to look at, so some of the archetypes that look similar, and I also mentioned it a little bit yesterday. So if you have on your list, say, you know, if you were going to have like the pioneer, the adventurer, and the explorer, those archetypes can all seem kind of similar, and it's probably not likely that you have all 3 of those. So that's where you want to look a little bit deeper, right? So the pioneer is going to be the person that wants to maybe be the very first and create the, you know, find the thing first, you know, go do the thing first. Where maybe someone now like that's a pioneer might be the persons that are finding the new vaccine for COVID, right? And then the adventure, which I have, is like, it can show up in a lot of ways. And I realized even like right now, even the past few days, or working with Galen, like it's showing up in like, you know, adventures in my clothes, adventures in, I've always been adventurous in my spiritual studies, and like reaching beyond the beyond, like, oh, that, reaching beyond my comfort zone all the time. Like even a few years ago when I decided, I felt inspired to study like sacred DNA restructure and activation. It was like, whoa, that is definitely a new, like, interesting adventure for me. Like, so the other, sometimes like the rebel, the revolutionary, and the free spirit, maybe those might seem similar. So if you notice that you're finding a few and they're kind of similar, because there's kind of almost little groupings or families, then you can start to kind of sort them out a little bit. Like pick, it's probably going to be one, or there's also like teacher, mentor, guide. And I know the teacher one's always been there for me. I remember teaching aerobics when I was 19, and then I stopped, and then 15 years later I was at a campground and I took a water aerobics class one day, and it was fun. I went back the next day, the teacher did not show up, and the people in the class just looked at me and they said, "We think you should teach." It was like they saw that teacher in me. So my flavor, I discovered, is really more the guide. So it's just, again, don't get too hung up on it, but just know that you're probably not going to have, you know, you're not going to have teacher, mentor, guide, because those are all kind of similar. And then step 6 is don't overthink it. So again, it's a work in progress. It's going to unfold over time. Some of them, like I said, I've evolved my list a little bit, and I had the goddess on there for a long time, and then I realized, oh, Isis is the goddess of my archetype. And the alchemist, which I realized, like, that alchemist, it's kind of everywhere in my life. It's like in my gardening, in my decorating, in my, you know, self-care, my learning, like my cooking, right? I love good food, but healthy food. And so it's like creating good, healthy foods that are delicious, that feed my hedonist, but also like are healthy for me. And so I'm an alchemist in working with energy transformation. As a matter of fact, I've been kind of not really landing on the name for my business besides my name, and I realized this week I'm like, energy alchemy. There it is right there. So you heard it first here. Another client is a master network or a master connector. So she has the master, which I also have. It's like the master is like, there's the student archetype, the student loves to learn, but the master is like, I love to master things. I get like really excited and want to really learn as much as I can about it. And she's a master at networking, a master connector. So it's just so beautiful when you see how these come together. A good friend of mine, who's actually my first life coach, she is a sexual healer, relationship, sacred sexuality, and she teaches courses like, the sacred yoni massage and things like that. And so she's got the rebel archetype, eternal child, the goddess, and the teacher. And she's got some others, but those like really come personally. Yes, thank you. So the archetype of so she's like, these are just perfect for her because she's got the rebel, right? But she really had to have that rebel to really, break through and just be willing to walk her own path, because this is not, this is something that's outside the typical norm for most people. She had to be like ready to break through, and yet she's the teacher and the goddess, and she presents as like the goddess, but then there's this childlike innocence quality to her. She has the eternal child archetype, and so people trust her. She invokes trust, and she is very like so good at holding boundaries and making you feel safe, so that when she's doing this sacred work, it's like the perfect blends of archetypes for this. So yes, Mary, I love how you own the hedonist. It's rich, yes. I love the hedonist, and it's just funny how it comes into play, but I've seen like things, I don't know if it's biblical or somewhere, but there's some judgment against hedonists somewhere in the world. I'm like, dude, the hedonist part of that is really, part of the way I bring it forward is helping people to like live in the moment and take care of yourself. And some people think self-care is very extreme, but I'm kind of like, one thing I say about the hedonist says, it's Tuesday. Sure, it's a good day for a bottle of Dom Perignon. It's like really living in the moment and appreciating what is. And actually, I'm thinking it's Tuesday, and actually earlier today, I asked my husband if we want to go out to dinner, and so that's what we're doing later. So I don't think I'll have Dom, but so let me see. So is there any questions so far of anything else? I know a couple people have had some things popping up. So let me scrolling down. So the other step 7, I guess, is watch your language. So as I mentioned, like I showed you my stuff about the adventure. I think yesterday I shared about how like my queens, I said things like I survey the kingdom, or the warrior might say, I'm going to kill her, or whatever. It's like we have this language that we're speaking and we don't even realize it. So, and it's also with our archetypes. So I was kind of getting this image earlier about like the archetypes. They're like these tools or these things that we have that we're born with. And it's kind of like, when you buy something for your kitchen, maybe a Vitamix, and then you have it tucked away. And so this tool is there, but maybe you haven't used it much. Maybe you've only pulled it out once in a while, but it's this amazing, powerful tool. And then maybe someone comes along and you says, wow, you got that Vitamix there. That's so powerful. And you take it out and they show you all these possible ways that you can use that Vitamix, and you realize, wow, this is really powerful. And now that I have this Vitamix, I can, do all these new things that I didn't know I could do. So it's really like, they're just, I feel like they're gifts, tools in the toolbox. So one of the other beautiful aspects of uncovering and getting to know more, understand them more, and know more about yourself and what makes you tick and what doesn't, It's also easier to let go of trying to do things that are really not your thing, and you can spend more time and energy, which doesn't really feel like you're spending energy when you're doing things that you love, right? Think about when you're doing something that just feels good and that you love. It's like you're so in the present. And in the past few days, even as I've been start getting ready to teach this course, my archetypes have been so lit up and excited, shining through more brightly. Like I said, I had a photo shoot a few days ago. I see my husband comes home and he's like, hey, he just can tell that I'm really lit up, and it's just being more of me. And as I said earlier, so many people, especially entrepreneurs, and so let's see what else. Yeah, and have some Dom. There you go. Yes. Live life now, absolutely. So as I said earlier, many people, especially if you're entrepreneur, creatives, change makers, way showers, many are being drawn towards the archetypes right now. And like I said, I've been talking about them for about 10 years, but it's become the past year and a half, 2 years that I'm really feeling the call to start teaching them more and more, teaching them to more people. So many are being called to answer the call to really lead more purposeful and fulfilling lives, and businesses that are making a big difference in the world. So if that's you, maybe if you're feeling called to find more meaning and fulfill your deeper purpose in your work, or even to create or expand or deepen or grow your own purposeful soul-led businesses. Even for myself, I started my yoga and wellness center just by teaching yoga in the basement of a church 18 years ago, which over time grew into a yoga and wellness center. And 3 years ago, I felt a change to sell that business and to start doing more of the work I'm doing now. So if you're here to make a difference in the world. Working with your archetypes can also really connect you to more of your purpose, and unlock even more of your soul gifts, possibilities, and potential to do your purposeful soul work now. So just, there's nobody else like you, and there never has been, and there never will be again. But when we're all here for a purpose that only we can fulfill in our way. And as you fulfill that, you become more fulfilled, right? As you learn how your personal archetypes want to be expressed through you, you understand yourself at a new level, and you really get truly clear on what lights you up. And when you are in that place of really truly being lit up, that's when you're in your highest potential, your highest self. So again, I mentioned briefly yesterday too, but that's why I was inspired to create Embrace Your Archetypes, the sacred keys to awaken your higher purpose and potential in your life and business. So this course really takes you on a profound journey of discovering your own personal archetypes and how they hold the key to your unique superpowers, so you can own more of your purpose, claim your power, and really live the life that you've imagined. I included a link in the course above. In the link above, I included a link to the course above, which is, like I said yesterday, my brand new site, and actually one of the pictures in there I just got taken on Saturday. So the course is 60% off right now. It's a early bird, really great pricing. Plus I add an extra VIP bonus of 2 powerful one-on-one sessions, which is valued at $777, and right now that's free. So the VIP upgrade is free till August 11th. And so there's payment plans, but if you do pay in full, you also get a free deck of cards. So let me know if you have any questions on any of those things on the course or anything we talked about today. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about the 4 archetypes everyone has that are often the ones that are maybe undermining your ability to achieve your goals and enjoy success in every area of your life. And we'll also work with the energetic blocks preventing you from manifesting your desires, which are actually the shadow aspect of these archetypes. So thanks for joining me today. And again, let me know if you have any questions. Definitely wild weather out here. And thanks for joining me today.